Johnson heads to the pocket. Layup. Johnson. Good.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Talkin' Sports with me, Chris Powers, as we get ready for another week, the final week of the regular season of college football already. It goes by just that quick. We, of course, are seen here on Cox Cable, which is Pelican Sports TV, and we're seen in around 2 million households. 89% of the Metro New Orleans area still has Cox Cable, as well as about 340 to 50,000 in Baton Rouge and 140,000 in the Lafayette area. So we're here on the Pelican Sports app as well, the YouTube channel. Great sponsors like TJ Ribbs, Attorney Tony Clayton, and Livingston Parish Tourism. And we're seen 5 times a week. We've got lots to talk about today. We'll talk about LSU and their win over Vandy and getting ready for Oklahoma. We'll find out where I was right and where I was wrong, our Hot 5 pick for this week. And also we'll talk about Southern getting ready for the 51st Annual Bayou Classic. All of that is coming up. We start with a couple of things with college football. First with Bryce Underwood. And I won't spend much time on this because it's over. It's done. I had a feeling. Remember when I first came on here, I had a feeling. I said, I bet you he's not coming, and he didn't. He's not coming. And it wasn't anything that LSU did wrong. It was simply because of the billionaires that came out and offered him $13 million to come to the University of Michigan. $3 million up front, $10.5 million over the next 4 years of the deal. And I'll be honest with you, I don't wish any hard feelings to Bryce Underwood, whether he gets injured or not. I don't want that to happen, but I hope he falls flat on his face. And I think all LSU fans could probably say that. Bryce Underwood did a commitment. Nussmeier showed it on X, which is formerly Twitter. Showed a deal where he was talking about commitment. Bryce Underwood was talking about, hey, why not make an only commitment? I'm going to make a commitment. I'm making a commitment to LSU. I'm coming to LSU. He had the LSU jewelry on, all the swag and all that stuff. Got to walk down, the walk with the LSU Tigers down Victory Hill and all that, and got to spend time at the facilities, made about 10 trips to LSU, and at the last minute changed his mind. I can't blame him. He had a $3 million check that was given to him up front. He gets $10.5 million, supposedly again. Sometimes you get to know what happens with this, unless you get it from the school itself, and they're not going to make an announcement about that. So all in all, Bryce Underwood, number one quarterback in the country, is not coming to LSU. LSU right now is without a quarterback for this signage, and I've got a big problem with that. First, Jonathan, I'll get your take on Bryce Underwood not coming to LSU. What were your thoughts?
Not surprised, Chris. We talked about it on this show before that once he was offered that $10.5 million, and the next day posted something on his Instagram that he said was locked in all LSU. I kind of felt like he was using that that verbal commitment to LSU, the opportunity that the Tigers gave him as leverage to get more money out of Michigan. And look, can't judge the kid. 18 years old, going to make $12 million. That's life-changing money for him and his family. And this whole time, Bryce Underwood was saying, money was the last thing on his mind. But obviously, you write a check for $12 million, and some opinions will change. LSU's going to be okay. This kind of opens up the window even more for Garrett Nussmeier to come back one more year for his final year of eligibility. I fully believe he needs to, pointing to decision-making and ball security being the most glaring reasons why he deserves and needs more time to develop as a quarterback in college. And this also opens up Brian Kelly and the collective for LSU to spread that money out a little bit, bolster this entire roster. You look at 21 seniors that are leaving for the Tigers, a lot of experience on that back end of that defense, especially at that safety position. You're going to lose Burns. You're going to lose most of your players that you've had, Gilbert. All these guys, their eligibility is over, so they're moving on. Bolster your entire roster. Use that money to invest in the transfer portal. Coach Brian Kelly had his press conference yesterday, Monday, and he said they're going to be very aggressive in the portal. And without that Bryce Underwood flipping commitments, I don't know if LSU has the money to really be that invested in the portal. But this environment changes day to day, week to week, even minute to minute. And LSU fans have to support the coach. Have to keep their confidence in Coach Brian Kelly. He's not going anywhere. There was some foolish fire Kelly chance that happened this past Saturday when LSU did beat Vandy, but that's not going to happen. You got to support Coach Brian Kelly. Get some talent into the locker room. Still have a very talented signing class and a lot of talent in the state in 26. So got to recruit the base, keep recruiting Louisiana, and I think LSU's going to be just fine.
Yeah, and when I talked about a friend of mine, I talked to a friend of mine about money, and it's so different because LSU can't pay him. Obviously, they can't pay the NIL. They will soon with collective bargaining agreement. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But they got to get the boosters to be able to pay them. All the guys. Look, we have oil money here. We have better resources than Alabama does. Alabama doesn't have any Fortune 500 company, and they don't have any billionaires that live in that state. We've got 2 billionaires, almost a third that lives in here. Gary Schwest is close to being a billionaire, but you got Todd Graves, the richest guy now, at $9 billion, and you got Gail Benson worth about $8 billion, almost $8 billion. So we do have 3 billionaires in this state, but unlike Alabama, they have none. We have better resources than Mississippi. We have oil. Louisiana produces about 25% of the nation's oil. So we still have great resources here. And by the way, Jonathan, what you think? I'm going for the Pat McAfee look.
Yeah, here. I like it. You're pulling it off, Chris. I like it. With your beard trim, you're looking good today, bud.
I don't have the wife beater shirt on, though.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, your shirt came with sleeves. I don't think McAfee owns a pair of sleeves, but
you're right.
You're pulling it off.
Right. So let's talk about the state of college football because it's heading down a wrong road. And I know this will not continue to be sustainable if this doesn't get fixed. That's the bottom line. If this doesn't get fixed, it's heading in the same direction of Major League Baseball. At one time, Major League Baseball was the number two most watched sport there was. But 2 things happened to Major League Baseball. The last strike they did, fans warned them. If you go on strike, we're done. And they went on strike anyway, and fans were done. And then also the second thing was the steroid problem, the steroid era in that sport. People got tired of it. And once they get tired of it, they're not coming back. They got better things to do. I had to convince my dad to come back for Major League Baseball to watch his Houston Astros. He grew up watching the Astros for years. He took me to an Astros game years ago. And he wasn't watching any Astros game. But I told him, Dad, they're playing every year, and they're going to look like they make the World Series the first time they did. And he went and he started going nuts, and he did it right before he died. He watched Astros game. He didn't watch it for years. And that's going to be the exact thing. If college football don't watch it, like I need to watch my microphone hitting my mic, if college football don't watch it, it's going to continue to happen like that. Major League Baseball right now, they say they're fine. They get TV revenue. They're okay with that. They don't care about the crowds. They don't care if the stadium is filled. They're building stadiums that are 30,000 seat stadiums. That's it. Fenway's only like 38,000. That's it. And my brother was like, "Are you serious?" Yeah, that's it. Fenway's only 38,000. These stadiums are building smaller and smaller because they don't care. They don't care about the person going to the game. Like, they like it. It's extra money for them. It's cherry on top of the ice cream. But they don't care. Just like they've sped the game up for the TV viewership. Not for the fans in the stands, because when you go to get concessions, you miss 2 innings of baseball. It's that quick because of the pitch count, the pitch timer, and everything else of that nature. It makes it quick. Extra innings is a runner at second base. I'm not a big fan of that. And baseball and traditionalists are not big fans of that either. But they get in their TV money, and that's it. They don't care about the fans coming. That's why Major League Baseball has dropped as far as popularity goes. And will they ever catch back up to number 2? Probably not. We're going to look at that also, too. In college football, there are too many instant replays. Too many instant replays. There needs to be only 3 for both teams, and that's it. That's what college football, that's what NFL does. Now, they do instant replays, but they do it quick on turnovers to make sure it's a real turnover, not a fumble and the ball comes down, or touchdowns. They can do that too. And they can do it quick while it's in commercial break to confirm it or what happened. No, before commercial break. They do it quick. The NFL in New York sends the signal, okay, he caught it, good, he caught it. They can never that quick. The instant replays are going too long. College football playoff selection committee is a joke. It's a massive joke. It's a human element that people, like Condoleezza Rice was on the first committee. What does she know about? She may be a fan. A fan. Nothing to do with college football. She's not worked in any organization at all. She worked in federal government for George W. Bush. Are you kidding me? And they're going to make her a part of the committee? That's who you have selecting the people, the teams that go to the college football. I bet your bottom dollar that Alabama will be in the college playoffs Can you see Dallas finishing 7-10 in the NFL? Oh, yeah, Dallas finished 7-10. Can you hear Goodell doing this? But, yeah, we got to have it in the playoffs. So go ahead and put them in the playoffs. Let's skip out the team that don't. Now, of course, that's not going to happen because it's all by how you finish and all that stuff. But that's a joke. That is a massive joke. Penn State and Texas haven't played anybody. And the teams they did play in the top 10, they got beat. One game each, and they got beat. What kind of crap is that? This is horrible. The football playoff selection committee is a joke. It's a massive joke. And as long as we continue that, I mean, look, I understand what happened last year. Florida State lost their quarterback, but look, they still earned that right. They were undefeated. And I understand because it wouldn't look good on TV. They chose Florida State out. But even Georgia, who lost the SEC championship, the number one team in the nation, first loss in, 2 seasons? And they lost by 3 points at the end of the game. When have you ever seen a number one team drop from number 1 to number 6? 5 spots just like that. Are you kidding me? And an Alabama team, number 8, moved to number 4 just to get them in the playoffs because I know they got word in that Nick Saban was retiring. There's no doubt in my mind they got the word that Nick Saban was retiring. That's a joke. That's a joke. No other sport does that. Jonathan, you and I can go put a dart tournament at a local bar and be more organized than college football right now.
Yeah, and Chris, we really talked about it last week and how the conference championships really serve more harm than good for these teams. Now, what incentive do you have as a 2-loss team to go play in a conference tournament? Just forfeit it. I mean, how could it benefit you? Last week we talked about there would possibly be 5 SEC teams that got into this playoff. That argument is on thin ice, dangerously thin ice, I think, now, Chris, with Alabama losing again, Ole Miss losing again, Texas A&M losing. Yeah. It's a crazy – and you talked about the human element. How is Alabama only at number 13 in a 12-team playoff? Yeah. I cannot understand it other than we've been around Alabama for a while now in the SEC West, and we know how they're viewed as, football royalty, and you have to get them into the playoffs no matter what, but – while Oklahoma ran straight through them, ran it over 50 times for over 250 yards. The quarterback had over 100 on the ground. Of course, LSU plays Oklahoma this weekend in Tiger Stadium for senior night, and the Sooners are coming off a big win. So, I don't understand how Alabama's number 13. The human element in this college football playoff committee is not working out so well right now, and we haven't even got to the conference championships yet, Chris. So, hold on. It's going to get a lot more wild.
Yeah, I mean, you still got 2 weeks to go. Yeah, 2 weeks to go because you got the last regular season and the conference championship. So right now, Alabama is hoping that Texas beats A&M. But if A&M wins and A&M goes on to win the SEC championship game in Atlanta, then A&M goes over. Alabama's got no chance to go to the playoffs. And that's the only thing LSU fans could say, well, we didn't make the first 12-team playoff game season, but at least Alabama and Ole Miss didn't make it either. So we'll have to see. The only other thing that they're watching to see if Tulane makes the college football playoff 12-team. You know those fans at Tulane are going to be chirping. Hey, we make the 12-team playoffs and LSU doesn't. But anyway, another problem with college football is players faking injuries. You don't see that in any other sport. That's an extra timeout, and I don't know what the hell they're waiting on. This has to be dealt with now, and it's either got to be a 10-second runoff. At the same time, they got to look at it, whether it's a 10-second runoff or whether it's a penalty against the team that went down. That's one thing to fake. When you're watching a player walk down the field and then drop like that, like he was shot from somewhere in the upper deck, no, that's got to stop. It doesn't happen in the National Football League. It doesn't happen anywhere else. This is ridiculous, and it's got to stop, and it's got to stop now. The price of tickets for college football has gone crazy. So as Saints, you could buy a season ticket for the Saints from $1,000 to $1,100 per seat. That's all you pay. But at LSU, you got to pay that same $1,100 for that seat. Let's say just a normal average seat in the upper deck or somewhere in the middle or something. So let's say upper in the lower bowl section. So $1,100 plus you got to pay TAF another $1,100. That's $2,200 for one seat. That's crazy. Facilities, they're better than the NFL. Every single time there's pro day, NFL scouts and coaches come in here and they go, wow. They just look at LSU and Alabama's facility and Oregon's facility and just go, wow. They don't have facilities like that. In a multi-billion-dollar industry as the NFL, they don't have facilities like that. It's gotten out of hand. It's been passed out of hand. When I covered LSU, they had to keep the game day media guide to a certain extent down because the NCAA would get on because it's a recruiting tool. Well, they've obviously got past that, and they've let Taj Mahal's being built. When coaches say we want the players to feel at home, nobody has a house like that. Come on, man. I got a bowling alley, and nobody has a bowling alley in their house. It's gotten out of hand. Facilities have gotten out of hand. They're better than the National Football Leagues. Transfer portals with no contracts. I can play 1 year, and then I'm gone. Now that coach has got to look for another linebacker because of the fact that middle linebacker, now he's got limited. He's only got one because his linebacker just decided I'm not playing anymore. I'm not starting. I'm second string. I'm out. It's worse for an offensive and defensive line. That's got to stop. I think it ought to be 2 transfers. You play your first 2 seasons, and after the second season, you could transfer. And then you transfer for year 3 and 4, and that's it. You can't transfer anymore. You can't transfer anymore. Enough of the transfer portal. They got to have rules on the transfer portal. There's no contract. If you guys want money, then you have to do a contract. You have to stay here to do that. In the NFL, you have to do that. You sign a contract, you have to be there for that time. Again, as I mentioned, coach NIL money is just absolutely crazy. Coaches' salaries, too much. They're gotten out of hand. And buyout contracts, where right now Kelly, if he would be fired, which he's not going to be fired. I agree with you, Jonathan. He's not going to be fired. His seat is not hot. It's cold as ice. All right, $60.5 million buyout. We all know what Jimbo Fisher's was. It was astronomical, and Texas A&M will be paying for that over several years. Instead of that going back to the institution or back to the athletic program, they got to pay that to get it out. It's absolutely ridiculous. Going back to, of course, NIL. Now, collective bargaining agreements is close. A Third Circuit court ruled that the athletes must become employees of the school. And if that's the case, then you got to start paying taxes, and you have to do what employees of the school do. How's it going to do with background checks? Because I know at LSU, when I did PA for LSU, you had to go through a strenuous background check. Big-time background check. I felt like I was working for the FBI. So the Third Circuit Court of Appeal is going to decide if they're going to be employees of the school. Both parties in Congress have pushed for NIL for athletes. That's the problem we've got right there. We've got so many problems in the United States and around the world. We've got Congress dealing with college football. That's what the NCAA is for. That's what you give grants to the NCAA for. It's unbelievable to me. With that Supreme Court that handled it to where they don't deal with championships anymore, it's out of control. It's out of control. The Supreme Court shouldn't have got involved in it. And Congress should not be involved in it. It should be the governing body of the NCAA. That's what they do. And it has to be done right. But that's what they do. The NCAA and schools are lobbying that they cannot be sued for salaries. In a way I like that, and a way I don't. Because like, for instance, Bryce Underwood. They tell Bryce Underwood, we're going to have you $10.5 million over a 4-year period. What if they don't have that money? So Bryce is going to sue the school then, because like that Florida quarterback is doing it for the Gators. He's suing Billy Napier. He's suing Napier for that because they promised him a certain amount of money and they're not producing the money. So not only he quit, but he's suing them. That's crazy. So you see what I'm saying? This cannot continue to sustain a healthy program. I mean, it can't do it. This is not a healthy league. This is crazy. And if it doesn't do it, it's going to be like Major League Baseball. Like I said, right now college football is the second most watched sport. Major League Baseball was there for the longest time at number 2. And at one point years ago, it was number 1. I'm going to show you now the ranking of sports finals because when people watch the finals, you have the 2 teams that watch the finals, obviously. Like, say, for instance, in college baseball. Tennessee fans are going to watch. Texas A&M fans are going to watch, okay? And then you have people that love baseball also going to watch, and that makes up your rankings, your ratings, your TV ratings. So that means that's the most popular when people are going to watch it one deal. They're not going to watch the Dodgers all season long, but when they get to the World Series, they watch the Dodgers versus the Yankees because they like the World Series in baseball. So let's see out of the 7 sports where these sports rank. You might know college baseball is at number 7. 2.92 million breaks a record for college baseball final between Tennessee and Texas A&M. Great job. It's moving up. Will it ever get to that level? Probably not, but we still love it. At LSU, we love it. It's nice, it's calm, relaxing to watch, and it's fun for us because we are the Alabama of college baseball right now. We've won more national championships. Only one that's ahead of us is USC. It's college baseball champions. All right, let's go number 6. NBA. That's another school. That's another team that has dropped. Another league that has dropped, rather. The NBA used to make big-time money when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson got the excitement going. The NBA rose up and up and up, and its popularity was great. When they started getting involved with China, when they started getting the new deals and players not wanting to play, their ratings are all-time low. NBA comes in at the 6th most watched finals at 11.3 million. Between Boston and Dallas. That's the average. 11.3 million people watch that. That's pretty bad because college basketball is ahead of them, including the NCAA men's basketball tournament. 5th at number 5, the NCAA men's basketball. Averaged 14.82 in the Final Four and the finals to see UConn and Purdue. Now, here's the problem with that. All the college basketball used to be big-time watch, and a lot of people get involved with a poll at the office poll and what have you. The problem with that is that the one and done is killing this sport. That is another massive mistake the NCAA agreed to. One and done. It's not popular in as much as it used to be. And the finals, the championships, too big of an arena. Those people that are watching it from up above, I got a feeling those are going to stop dropping. You're going to see attendance start dropping. And I heard that the tickets for the upper deck are very, very low. It was that way in Houston before in New Orleans, and this past in New Orleans it was low, and in Houston it was low, and what have you. They're starting to get lower and lower and lower because of the fact that you're watching from way up above. You can't see them play. You got to watch the big video monitors. For that, I could stay at home and watch that. I'd rather go to Hooters or go to walk-ons and watch the finals. I'm not going to watch it inside of a stadium where I can't see, and you got to pay $15 for a little hot dog. I'll stay at home for that. I'll stay at home. No. So NCAA basketball is 5th with an average of 14.82 million for the finals last year. Major League Baseball is 4th, and that means they moved up just a little bit because they have been struggling and way back there. But Major League Baseball with the Dodgers and the Yankees averaged 15.8 million viewers. Number 4. And it looks like they can't get back to the number 2 spot. That's what tells me about college football, that if you don't get this thing, if you don't get it fixed, you're going to be just like Major League Baseball. They're going to drop. People are already complaining big time about NIL, transfer portal, and wait till you see the money that Bryce Underwood's getting. It's only the top of the iceberg. It's only the tip of the iceberg. It's coming. It's going to get worse. You're going to have people, you're going to have players that's not going to want to play anymore because they didn't get the money. And all of this, all what we've been dealing with NBA and pro sports, it's coming. If you think it's not going, you're crazy. NIL's only been around for 3 years. It's coming. Women's basketball is now number 3, and they've moved up. So they're beating Major League Baseball. They're now beating men's college basketball, and they're beating the NBA. But that was with Caitlin Clark. Now, will it still be that way this year? Probably not. But last year, women's basketball averaged 18.87 million for South Carolina taking on Iowa and the Hawkeyes. At number 2 is college football. 25 million watch Michigan and Washington. 25 million, not the highest, but that's what they watched last year. Michigan and Washington at 25 million. And number 1 by a country mile and then some, country 5 miles, is the National Football League. 123.7 million watch Kansas City and San Francisco. 123.7 million. It's not even close, folks. It's not even close. If I'm college football, there's some things I get from the NFL, not the kickoff rule, but there's some things I get with the NFL, and I go with that, and I stop doing this stuff. I think the overtime period's better in college football than it is in the National Football League. But all the other stuff that's happening with the salaries, the NIL, the transfer portal, people, I'm telling you, I'm hearing it every day from people my age and older. They've had enough. They're close to getting out of here. They're close to saying, I'm done. I'm done with this. And this Bryce Underwood, some LSU fans, really, it hit them home hard. It hit like a Mike Tyson the young Mike Tyson, upper body punch. it's enough's enough. They're having enough. Jonathan, hearing all of this, am I right or wrong on this?
A lot of good points, Chris. It is surprising to me that women's college basketball was the third watch most finals. Of course, it was the Caitlin Clark effect, and it did trickle into the WNBA a little bit, but I assume the viewership will drop steadily, now that Caitlin Clark is out of college basketball. I think it has to do with storytelling, Chris, and the NFL has college football to build up these players before they get into the organization or the league, and college football is sadly getting away from the high school to college transfer. Outside of the Power Five, high schoolers are losing opportunities, especially from that transfer portal. Coach Terrence Graves talks about it at Southern. They're not going to get high school players. Why would you take a risk on a high school guy when you know this guy who's been at JUCO for 2 years or playing some small D2 college? He's had the time to adjust. He understands what's expected of him as a college athlete. So, of course, you feel more secure giving a roster spot, a scholarship to a guy like that as opposed to a high school kid. Now, the 5 stars, the Bryce Underwoods of the world, that's a completely different story. It's a 1% of the 1%.
Right.
But it is going to be an outlier that kind of changes the dynamic of the entire landscape because, $12 million to an 18-year-old kid. We saw what $100 million did to Michael Thomas, a guy who was in his 20s, a little bit more mature. I don't want to say he gave up, didn't want to play, but his attitude and his effort completely changed after he got that big check. Is that going to start affecting these younger, more immature kids? It would have to in my life experience. There's nothing that a child can go through to get them ready for having life-changing money. There's going to have to be some leadership, some parents, and some people that are truly looking out for the best interest of the child get involved. And it's not just going to be all about how much money can we make off these kids, because if it does turn into that, you're right. College football is in trouble. They're going to lose that thing that made it special, that thing that you could root for your team each and every Saturday. There's a tradition that goes into it. You play the same teams in and out. You wear the same uniforms, and that's like all kind of out the window. Now it's just how much money can we make with the turnover, with the jerseys, the NIL, the transfer. Oh, now we're signing number one. How much money can we give this guy? It's a completely different landscape, and a lot of people, I'm telling you, it's leaving a really bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, and you make up another good point. Another thing I forgot to add on this, problems with college football, is the rivalries. They're done. I mean, rivalries are done now. I mean, Oklahoma State's not playing this week.
Yep.
And Nebraska and Oklahoma used to be an unbelievable matchup. USC versus Cal. UCLA versus Cal. All that's gone.
Yep.
And those were close proximity where opposing fans go to each other's stadiums. Now, you're not going to see big California guys going to Michigan to watch a game, or Ohio State or Minnesota, for God's sakes. It's absolutely crazy that we're losing this. LSU didn't play Auburn or Mississippi State this year. Auburn, there's always something going on with the Auburn LSU game. It's absolutely crazy. That's another thing that's happening. Another thing that's happening, Jonathan, is the way that they're training these players now. Like, for instance, NBA officials cannot stand. NBA general managers hate that college coaches, because they're only one and done, college coaches are not teaching their players defense. And that's the problem with the NBA. They have no defense.
Right.
And they said that's the old rule. Well, you know what's the problem now with college football? You all have running quarterbacks. What's the shortest span of a position in the National Football League? Running back. And now you've got running quarterbacks, so those running quarterbacks are going to start be affected. Their career now is going to start dropping, that they're not pocket passers now. We're all going to get running quarterbacks. There's a reason you can't run the option. You can't really the RPO in NFL, because these guys are too fast and they hit too hard. And if you're training quarterbacks for this running style quarterback, do you think that carries over the National Football League? No, it doesn't. There's only a few players that can do that. Michael Vick was one of the best. He had a good, strong arm, not as great accuracy. But when he ran, scared the hell out of me every time the Saints played the Michael Vick and the Falcons. But we found a way to get him. Milroy, look at Milroy. He hasn't had a good game except for against LSU. Oklahoma, they stopped him. Vanderbilt stopped him. You cannot do that. That's why I think Milroy is not going to be a good NFL quarterback. I just don't. I think he needs to stay another year, because he ain't going to happen in the National Football League. But he's gone, and God bless. Goodbye. So I think that college football's got a lot of stuff to work on, and if they don't, I'm telling you, they're going to become Major League Baseball. And whether they like it or not, because they've got TV contracts, maybe they do. I don't know. But I'm telling you, we're heading for a bad spot. If they don't get – and look, I have no problem. Let me ask you your question, Jonathan. Would you have a problem with Nick Saban being the commissioner of a big college football league?
No, I wouldn't, but I don't think it should be one person. I like the desk of college Sunday morning football, college game day. McAfee, Saban, Herb Street, Reese, Howard, a brain trust of people that we know, understand the football game, understand the environment around the game, and try to tackle this NIL situation with some sort of common sense to put a cap on the crazy spending. Yeah, I don't think it should be one guy, but I absolutely think Nick Saban should have a seat at the table.
Yeah, no question. And then also, we keep going with this NIL and the transfer portals and what have you and all this. Like I said, if we don't get this taken care of, college football's heading for bad road. I'm telling you right now. And just look, I said it on the 26th of November, 2024. I'm telling you, it's heading down that road. When we come back, LSU wins. There's booing. Fire Kelly. And Shedeur Sanders doesn't get a suspension. We'll talk about that when we come back. We're talking sports with me, Chris Powers, Jonathan in the house. Right after this, we'll be back on Pelican Sports TV.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadia and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars. Make a fun run in Livingston Parish now with all kinds of events for the whole family this December. There's lots of Christmas parades in Livingston Parish. Sunday, December 1st, the Walker Christmas Parade. Saturday, December 7th, the Springfield Christmas Parade. And the Boat Parade on the Diversion Canal. Monday, December 9th is the Albany Christmas Parade. The Kiwanis Christmas Tree Lighting Ceremony in Denham Springs on Thursday, December 12th. Then the Kiwanis Denham Springs Christmas Parade as well as the Town of Livingston Christmas Parade on Saturday, December 14th. Also that night, it's a Christmas movie in the Denham Springs Park at 6 p.m. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, plus pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And don't forget, Christmas in the Denham Springs Village going on now until December 21st. Also on December 21st in Denham Springs, it's the Reason for the Season, a live nativity scene from 2 until 4 p.m. and Christmas caroling at the amphitheater from 5 until 6. For more information, visit LivingstonTourism.com. Livingston Parish, make a fun run.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're talking sports with me, Chris Powers. And, of course, LSU breaks their three-game losing skid in a big way. They beat Vanderbilt. Nussmeier, best game of the year, really, kind of in a way, 337 yards. He only had one touchdown, but he completed 76% of his passes. He did absolutely great. Josh Williams ran for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns on 14 carries. He had one of his best games, best game this season, and only 90 yards. But he showed power, breaking tackles, getting through the lanes. Offensive line did well, both in the pass block and the run block. I thought that did well. I thought Josh Williams had way more carries than Caden Durham. And I kind of thought that way. I said, well, Josh Williams is getting too many carries, but they ended up both with 14 carries. I didn't realize Caden Durham snuck in with 14 carries in that ball game as well. He didn't have as many yards, obviously. LSU had 471 yards of offense to Vandy's 308. No turnovers in the game, not from either team. LSU fumbled the ball one time, but they recovered it. but no turnovers in the game for both football teams. And just 6 penalties, Jonathan, 3 on each team. That was almost a perfect game with no turnovers and no penalties. That was crazy. LSU snaps a 3-game losing skid. All right, you talked about booing with Garrett Nussmeier. I thought that was absolutely crazy as well. This was the starting lineups before the game started. Garrett Nussmeier's name was announced, and they booed him. And it was mostly the student section. And, again, the student section is just, man alive. I love them to death. But do you go out and you say, okay, enough, no more student section? They're gone. You buy tickets like everybody else. I mean, we might as well because we're treating it like a pro sport anyway. It's not really as much a fan base as much as it is because it's just amazing. But the LSU fans, the LSU students have done bad, and they're great. I mean, I deal a lot with the LSU students, and they're courteous, they're nice, yes sir, and all of that stuff. But what they're doing is they take a song like Neck and they turn it into something that's vulgar. They take other songs that LSU has been doing for years and turn it into vulgarity as well. It's just bad. And then now they boo Nussmeier and they chant "Fire Kelly." We're going to get to that in just a minute. But let me go about again. Garrett Nussmeier is second in the SEC in total yardage right now. He's third in passing touchdowns. He's 11th in quarterback ratings. He is a first-year starter, guys. A first-year starter. So what happened to us? Do we have no patience anymore for first-year starters? That they got to go out? Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman Trophy the year before, and everyone's got to be like Jaden Daniels in year 2? Well, let's not forget that Jaden Daniels was not effective in year 1 either. Garrett Nussmeier right now has 3,458 yards and 23 touchdowns. That's more than both Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels had in their first year. Jaden Daniels passed for 2,913 yards and 17 passing touchdowns. Now, obviously, he's a rushing quarterback. He did well. But notice this year also that I talked about rushing quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels is not playing as effective right now because Jaden Daniels is hurt by running the football. You can't do that in the National Football League. Everyone's known that for years. You cannot do it. And with the guys faster and stronger than they used to be back 15 years ago, you can't do that. Joe Burrow had 2,894 yards and 16 touchdowns. Jonathan, I agree with you. I've said it for a long time. Nussmeier goes to the National Football League, he's a fool because there's still things he's got to learn, and I think he's going to get better in year 2. I really do. I think he could become a very good quarterback, and he could be a Heisman Trophy candidate by the end of next year. I really believe that. I think that he is setting up for a great year 2. So I don't think, even though they got him as the 6th or the 5th highest quarterback in the National Football League right now, coming out of the college to go to the NFL draft, but for the fans booing him like that, maybe he should take his talent and say, go to hell. Go get a new quarterback now. I mean, you just use the quarterbacks you got now. Bye, gone. Bryce is not here. Gone. You deserve it. You deserve it. I'm disappointed in the LSU student section. I'm really disappointed. You cost your school $250,000, a few weeks ago with throwing bottles in the end zone. I'm disappointed in you. Really disappointed. I mean, what do you want? Scott Woodward to come down hard on y'all as the athletic director and say enough's enough? They're the first ones to rush the field and cost LSU more money with rushing the field. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Come on, student body of LSU, you're better than that. I brag on you. You're better than that. Stop that. And the chance of fire Brian Kelly. Kelly is 7-4. I understand. Nick Saban was 8-5 in year 3. Again at LSU. I said that last week. He was 8-5. Fire. Look at the fans and the board. And because of all the talk radio shows wanted Napier gone, Billy Napier gone. Now look what he's doing. He beat 2 ranked teams, and now he just flipped a 4-star running back from Florida State to Florida. His recruiting class is going to be pretty damn good. It's going to be top 10, maybe top 5. Billy Napier, give Billy Napier a chance to see. I knew it. I told friends of mine that Billy Napier was the only coach at UL Lafayette to beat ranked teams. Other coaches there didn't do that. He did a couple of times. Let him be. Let him cook. Let him see what he can do in 5 years. in 5 years, then fire him. But now look what he's doing. Another one. Auburn wanted to fire Hugh Freeze. They were talking about the buyout for Hugh Freeze. Look what he does. I mean, it's one game, but he beat a top-ranked team, a top 10 team, number 9, Ole Miss. But yet Lane Kiffin gets all the – you don't hear that about Lane Kiffin. You hear about what job he might get. Lane Kiffin is 5-10 against ranked teams. 5-10 at Ole Miss. And 3-7 in the last 10 games. But yet Lane Kiffin is an unbelievable coach. No, he's not. He hasn't won championships anywhere he's been. Why do you think he's such a good coach? I'd love people to say that. There's a talk show host here in Baton Rouge that wants Lane Kiffin. He wanted him to be the LSU coach. I said, why? And he didn't know what to say. I just said my points to him, and he didn't know what to say. It was a private conversation, and he didn't know what to say. He's a big Billy Napier, a big Lane Kiffin fan. Why? Why do y'all talk about rat poison? Why do you drink that rat poison? Why do you take that rat poison and think Lane Kiffin's a good coach? I think he's a decent – I'm better. I think he's a good coordinator, a good offensive coordinator. But head coach? He didn't do it with the Raiders. He didn't do it with Tennessee. He didn't do it at USC. And he ain't doing it with Ole Miss. Why do you think he's a good coach? What championship has he won? Jonathan, am I wrong?
Well, Chris, no, you're not wrong. What championship has Lane Kiffin won? But, people can say the same thing about Brian Kelly. I believe both to be good college football coaches. I'm not going to slight you for not having won the big game. It is very difficult to win that national championship. Made a lot of good points, though, about how Lane Kiffin, anybody talks about is what job might he get. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, is in the same exact boat. The last I checked, he has both his sons starting on offense and defense. Then he has the number 1 player in the country, and they still have not won the conference with a weak schedule up by Colorado. With unlimited resources, they have backed totally Coach Prime. He tries to get all the 5 stars he can. Obviously, Colorado is a big ask for a D1 5-star athlete. He did get Travis Hunter, flipped him from Florida State right out of high school, but it's not the same as going into the SEC. I completely understand that. So your talent pool is smaller than what you'd get at an LSU or an Alabama. But why are people talking about Deion going to move on and coach the Cowboys? Like, what has he done that makes you think, oh, yeah, this guy is going to be the next NFL big thing as a head coach? I don't see it. Like the media, and we're part of it, Chris, but the mainstream media does have agendas with certain people and individuals. And, the Lane Kiffins of the world, the Deion Sanders of the world, they get spun differently than a Coach Brian Kelly.
No question. And, see, that's why you're so good, because of the fact you lead me to my next point, Shedeur Sanders. Not getting suspended for shoving the ref. I watched the instant replay. I watched it in slow-mo, watched it in real time. There's no doubt he pushed. I don't watch Colorado football because of Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders. I don't. I hate their attitude. I've covered Deion in the National Football League for the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys when he came to the Superdome. Can't stand the guy. Interviewed him both times in those times. I can't stand the guy. Interviewed him at Jackson State, and he talked. I started giving him X and O's, and he was flustered and frustrated and cut off the conversation because he's not an X and O's guy. Okay, he's not a smart guy as you think he is. Now he is a seller. He'll sell ice to Eskimos, but Shedeur Sanders doesn't get suspended. And Jonathan, there's no doubt in my mind. That's the Big Ten saying if we suspend him for doing what he did, which was wrong, any other player would have got it. He's out of the Heisman race, and he's not going to be in the NFL top 10 and drafted. There's no doubt in my mind that's what the Big Ten was thinking about.
Well, there's no doubt it would have affected the Heisman race. There's no doubt about it. And live, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Refs get shoved a little bit, especially with their back to a player. When they're trying to break up a scuffle, they're trying to reach over and hit the other guy. That happens more than you think in the game. But the replay, the Big Ten has access to that replay. You see him forearm shove that referee in the back of his head. No flag, no suspension. You're kind of thinking, wait, what? Yeah. How is this guy getting treated so different? What has he done to earn this, Chris? What have they done to earn it?
Nope. Exactly. I don't get it either. And, there's another one. I don't know if you saw that. Stephen A. on Sunday said that Deion should be the next coach of LSU. Oh, my God. He'd fit in right perfectly with LSU.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, my God. All right, when we come back, Southern University getting ready for the Bayou Classic and on national TV exposure. We'll do that when we come back, talking sports with me, Chris Powers, and Jonathan right here on Pelican Sports TV.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars. Make a fun run in Livingston Parish now with all kinds of events for the whole family this December. There's lots of Christmas parades in Livingston Parish. Sunday, December 1st, the Walker Christmas Parade. Saturday, December 7th, the Springfield Christmas Parade. And the Boat Parade on the Diversion Canal. Monday, December 9th is the Albany Christmas Parade. The Kiwanis Christmas Tree Lighting Ceremony in Denham Springs on Thursday, December 12th. Then the Kiwanis Denham Springs Christmas Parade as well as the Town of Livingston Christmas Parade on Saturday, December 14th. Also that night, it's a Christmas movie in the Denham Springs Park at 6 p.m. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, plus pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And don't forget, Christmas in the Denham Springs Village going on now until December 21st. Also on December 21st in Denham Springs, it's the Reason for the Season, a live nativity scene from 2 until 4 p.m. and Christmas caroling at the amphitheater from 5 until 6. For more information, visit livingstontourism.com. Livingston Parish, make a fun run.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers. 76 meeting between Southern and Grambling State, but more importantly, the 51st annual Bayou Classic at the Caesars Superdome this Saturday at 1 p.m. Ought to be a fun one on NBC. Southern leads the overall series 41-34, and in the Bayou Classic they lead 26-24. They've won 6 out of the last 10 meetings against the two, and Southern University is winners of the SWAC West, as Grambling is just they can't even play spoiler here. But you don't have to talk to the team to get them fired up because it's Bayou Classic. It's on NBC, and plus it's Southern and Grambling in the Caesars Superdome. So I don't think you have to worry about a letdown. The problem is that Southern's got to start fast. It won't affect them this week as much against Grambling State, but it will affect them next week against Jackson State for the SWAC championship, and we'll break that down next week. Southern has not scored an offensive touchdown at all in the first quarter of the whole season. They've scored just 9 points. 9 points. That's not going to get it done. They have to score early. Southern's D hasn't allowed a 300-yard passer in 17 straight games. They haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 13 straight games. So that means all season long they haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher. That includes Nicholas State, which they got one to get 99 yards, but that was it. He was 1 yard away. Coach Graves has one loss in his SWAC history. He's 8-1. In SWAC play. That means 2 wins in Bayou Classic as an interim, one at Grambling, one at Southern, and the only loss this season in the SWAC was against FAMU. So that's why Southern, though, has to go because they lost to Jackson State. It was a non-conference game. That's why Southern has to go to Jackson State next week. Now think about that. For Southern University, they've got a chance to be on 4 national TVs. And, Jonathan, you know as well as I do, not only for an HBCU, but for an FCS team, that's huge. So this week they're going to play on NBC. Next week they're going to play on ESPN2. If they win that game, they go to the Celebration Bowl. That'll be at on ABC at 12 noon, December the 14th. And the SWAC MEAC Challenge they're going to play next year in Atlanta. That game is on ABC in week 0 on a Saturday night. So, Jonathan, that is 4 good opportunities, national exposure for Southern University's football program and the Jaguars.
Yeah, I know Coach Graves and the Jaguars are completely fired up. I don't know a lot about Grambling this year. Of course, according to Coach T. Graves, that they should have won more games than they did. Just the ball bounced the other teams' way in a couple situations, and it was a razor-thin margin between wins and losses. But I do know this. Coming down to the Bayou Classic, you can throw those records out the window. They mean nothing because both of these teams are coming in fired up. They want to win the Classic. In a lot of situations, it's family against family. In some situations, it's a house divided. You have aunts that went to Southern. You have uncles that went to Grambling. And everybody gets together. It's a big family reunion down there. Of course, a lot of Southern fans really do pull for Grambling outside of that Bayou Classic, even though it's a fun rivalry. You call them the team from up north. But it's going to be packed down in New Orleans. It always is a great time. They had the press conference this week, so everybody's getting ready. And Coach T. Graves, he's going to bring back that W I already know for the Jaguars.
There you go. Look at that. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of interesting facts. Southern comes from behind. They're the comeback kids. They want to come from behind every single time. So check this out. Southern is 5-2 when opponents score first. They're 2-2 when Southern scores first. So they're always play from behind. Southern is 7-0 when they score over 20 points. They're 0-4 when they don't score over 20 points. Southern is 3-0 when opposing teams rush for under 100 yards and 4-4 when they run for over 100 yards. And Coach Graves, as we mentioned, just unbelievable. 8-1 overall in SWAC play in his career. Southern is 6-3 when trailing in the first quarter, and Southern is 4-1 when they lead in the third quarter. So they take over around the third quarter. When they do it, they take over, and then they're 4-1 the rest of the game. Ought to be interesting, and they're 3-0 in overtime games. But, Jonathan, here's it. In the Bayou Classic, this is the 51st time. There's never been one overtime game.
If there was going to be a year for Chris, this would be the year. Of course, Southern has had success in 3 overtime games this season. One went to 5 overtime. So call them the Cardiac Cats. They know how to get it done if that game goes into the deep water.
No question about that. When we come back, where I was right, where I was wrong, and our Hot 5 picks for this week as we're talking sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
Make a fun run in Livingston Parish now with all kinds of events for the whole family this December. There's lots of Christmas parades in Livingston Parish. Sunday, December 1st, the Walker Christmas Parade. Saturday, December 7th, the Springfield Christmas Parade. And the Boat Parade on the Diversion Canal. Monday, December 9th is the Albany Christmas Parade. The Kiwanis Christmas Tree Lighting Ceremony in Denham Springs on Thursday, December 12th. Then the Kiwanis Denham Springs Christmas Parade as well as the Town of Livingston Christmas Parade on Saturday, December 14th. Also that night, it's a Christmas movie in the Denham Springs Park at 6 p.m. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, plus pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And don't forget, Christmas in the Denham Springs Village going on now until December 21st. Also on December 21st in Denham Springs, it's the Reason for the Season, a live nativity scene from 2 until 4 p.m. and Christmas caroling at the amphitheater from 5 until 6. For more information, visit livingston.tourism.com. Livingston Parish, make a fun run.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Talking sports with me, Chris Powers. Time to find out where I was right and where I was wrong. I was 3-2. Luckily, as bad as it was last year for SEC and all around the nation, I was lucky to be 3-2 this week. I can promise you that. I'm 31-28 overall. Let's take a look where I was right and where I was wrong. I had LSU by 7 over Vanderbilt. They won exactly by that. I was right. Indiana, Ohio State. I had Ohio State by 7. They won by 23, so I covered the spread there. Army and Notre Dame. Army goes down for the first time this year. Notre Dame wins by 35 points. I had them by 10. I was right. The next two, I was wrong, and I guarantee you even Oklahoma fans didn't think this was going to happen. Florida Gator fans might have, but the rest of the nation did not think that. Alabama, I had by 10 over Oklahoma. Oklahoma wins by 21. Alabama didn't score an offensive touchdown at all throughout the game. They only scored 3. That hadn't happened in quite a while. Ole Miss, I had by 10 over the Florida Gators. I said whatever Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's going to be and his staff will look at it and see what LSU did wrong against Florida, and they're going to try and fix it. They did not. Ole Miss had no answer for Florida Gators as the Florida Gators win it by 7 points over there, so I was wrong. That's where I was 3-2. All right, now let's go now to this week. It's time now for the Hot 5 picks. Here we go. Oklahoma comes into Tiger Stadium for the first time ever, taking on the LSU Tigers. LSU has owned them for the last 3 times. They're 3-1 against Oklahoma in the nationwide. Look, it didn't mean any beans to this one, hills to beans to this one. I got LSU, Marty, by 7. Or Marty just walked in the room. I got Jonathan. I got LSU by 7 over Oklahoma.
I like the pick, Chris. Oklahoma, Brett Venables, longtime defense coordinator for Clemson, just coming off a big win against Alabama where they shut down Jaden Milroe and their quarterback ran for over 100 yards. I like LSU, but give me a 3-point game. LSU by 3.
All right, Grambling takes on Southern in the 51st Annual Bayou Classic. You said you like Southern. I do, too. I'm going with Southern by 7 in this game. It's always a close game, but I do think that the Jaguars are a much better football team than Grambling. Give me Southern by 7.
Completely agree. The Jags will win it. I think they'll be handily in the lead by the fourth quarter. Give me the Jags by 14 points.
All right, cool. Memphis takes on the Tulane Green Wave, and this one, a battle of 2 9-2 teams here. And this one will be at Yulman Stadium in New Orleans at Tulane. I've got the Green Wave by 3 for the 3rd year in a row that Tulane's going to be in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. Pretty impressive. They have a shot still, outside shot to make the playoffs. I got Tulane by 3.
Yeah, huge shout out to the Tulane head coach, John Summerall, taking over for Willie Fritz. A lot of people thought that once Coach Fritz left Tulane, they were going to fall off the cliff. Not the case at all. Give me the Green Wave by 7 at home against Memphis.
All right, cool deal. South Carolina takes on the Clemson Tigers. South Carolina's been hearing it forever, but look, they don't care. Clemson wins national championships. South Carolina, they just don't win. I guess we can't win in this state. Well, Clemson can. So it's a battle of the state of South Carolina. I got Clemson, just a little bit better football team, but this one has a hard pick to it.
Yep.
South Carolina could win and still have an outside shot of making the playoffs. I got Clemson winning by 3. What say you?
Gamecocks feel disrespected still by that call on Garrett Nussmeier. They think they got cheated out of a spot in that playoff. Give me the Gamecocks trying to make a statement. Finally, getting that monkey off their back and beating the Clemson Tigers, even there in Clemson, Death Valley, air quotes. Give me the Gamecocks by 7.
And look, there's a guy that talks about a sports guy here in Baton Rouge and played the game, and he did not think that was a blindside block. Man, I've got to really define to you what a blindside block is, because that was a blindside block, brother. All right, the Rams taking on the Saints in the Superdome. Rams, big disappointment this past Sunday. Saints, I got winning by 3 in the Superdome.
Saints up and down just like the Rams, but I'm just please asking the Rams, put us out of our misery. Stop giving us hope. You're not kind. It's over for the Saints.
All right, that's over for us. Talking sports with me, Chris Powers. We'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Have a great one.
Rocks and fires. Tommy White with it. Johnson heads to the pocket.